Let's take a look at the workbook exercises from chapter 23. Number 1. Episteusa, dio elalesa, kai hemes pisteuomen, dio kai lalumen. So we have here a verb, epistusa, and we have another verb here, and we have another verb here, and yet a fourth verb here. And there's some parallelism. Because there's a chi here in the middle, and the dio, they kind of, I shouldn't underline those. I want to reserve underlining for subjects and verbs. So let me erase that. That's fine, but we have dio. But let's go ahead and analyze episteusa. It's first singular, aorist, active, indicative. How do we know it's the aorist? Remember, the aorist, if you're learning your principal parts, aorist is formed off the third principal part. Let's go ahead and write these down while we're at it. Pisteuo, pisteuso, pisteuso. Okay, I know you've not had all of the 6 principal parts. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But that's okay. I think it's helpful to memorize them as much as you can. And the aorist is formed off the third principal part. Let's take a look. Let's refresh ourselves with the formation of the aorist. And it's the verb. We're going to take the stem of this verb, and we're going to repeat it because it's first singular, second singular, third singular, first plural, second plural, third plural. And we have our the augment at the beginning, the epsilon. And we have that sigma before the endings. Well, let's put the sigma in there first. And our aorist endings. So we have here the aorist form. I'm spending time on the aorist, incidentally, because this is what this chapter is about. So that's why I do want to take the time to write this out so you understand the format. The pisteu is your stem, and we have that augment at the beginning with the epsilon, and it's going to change if there's a vowel at the beginning, remember, and that's sigma. And I believed, therefore I spoke, first singular aorist active indicative, and we believe. This is your present tense, first singular present active indicative. And therefore, we speak. Again, first singular present active indicative. So this is a good sentence to indicate the difference between the present and the aorist tenses. And that's all this sentence is doing. I believed, therefore I spoke. And we believe, and therefore we spoke. Good, basic sentence to get us going. Number 2. Ego e baptiza humas hudati, autos te baptize humas en pneumati agio. Subject, ego is always a subject. When you see ego, that is. E baptiza, notice we have that augment in the S, so that's going to be our aorist, but we don't need to analyze it right now. We're just going word by word and seeing what the structure of this sentence is. And then we have another part of the sentence here. The subject, the verb, direct object, and then we have a prepositional phrase. This is our first singular aorist active indicative. This is your direct object, accusative plural feminine. Accusative plural feminine. This is your dative by means of, sort of. this is your future. Third person singular future active indicative, accusative plural feminine. I baptized, this is our aorist form, you, himas, hudati by means of water. Autos, he, that man, de baptise, will baptize, humas, you, in the Holy Spirit. I think it's best when you can to maintain and keep going on with the word order. That's going to help you, I think, much more than just kind of going hodgepodge and figuring things out where they go. Stick with the word order when you can. Number 3, kathose me apestelas eiston kosmon. Kago apestela autos eiston kosmon. Apestelas is our verb. This is your direct object. Eiston kosmon is the prepositional phrase. And I, apestela, autos, direct object, eiston kosmon. Even apestelas, you sent, okay, you sent me, accusative singular, masculine, feminine, depending on who me is, masculine or feminine, we don't know, into the world. And I sent them, accusative, plural, masculine, into the world. Simple sentence, basic parallelism, the two halves match, all good. Number 4. Ekusen Jesus hoti exebelon, auton echo kai euron, auton epen. Su pisteoes, eiston huion tu anthropu. Lot going on in this sentence. Jesus ekosan. Jesus, nominative singular masculine. Again, I want to discourage right off the bat analyzing the sentence. I prefer you understand the structure. But, we're studying the New Testament. When it comes to Jesus as the subject, that's fine. Go with it. But we have a lot of subordinate subclauses that we need to worry about. Haughty, and we're going to put that here. That, and then we have within that haughty clause, there's this part here. And not only that, but this part here. But this part is also has another little part in there. So we've got a lot of, is embedation a word? When you embed a lot of parts together, I think it should be. Embedation. Honestly, I don't think it is, but it should be. This one. This is your subject. There's your verb. And it tells you after finding, he said, the auton is a direct object. It's the accusative case, but it's going to end up going after heron. So that's the direct object there. Here's your verb here. Eiston huion tu anthropu. We've spoken many, many times, and we're going to continue to speak many, many times again of that genitive following right after the genitive of which the genitive of, if that makes sense. So, Jesus ekusen, third person singular aorist, active indicative, and notice that ekusen that's emphasized. That eta at the beginning becomes is elongated because we're augmenting a vowel, and then we're adding that s in it. Exebelon, this tells you it's the second aorist. We haven't had that yet. We're going to get it in chapter 24. Don't worry about it. Accusative singular masculine. So Jesus heard that they sent him, auton, great. That's that next little sentence. Out, exo. They sent him out, and finding him, heuron auton. After finding him, he says, su pisteoes. Do you believe? It's a question. You believe, second person singular, present active indicative. Into, I've put my bracket in the wrong place. That'll go here. Into the Son, accusative with ace means into, the Son of Man, and we've got that genitive there already. Jesus heard that they sent him out, and finding him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? And number 5. Legeo tois hoti heran ton kurion mu kai uk oida pu ephekan auton. Here's your subject, the verb, the verb. Autois is the indirect object. We have a little phrase here. And then we have a kai, that's good, it's a helpful breaker here. And not oida pu, in this oida pu, where ephekan auton. So, lege third person singular, this is your present tense, present active indicative. She is saying, or he is saying, to them. Notice with the verbs of giving, showing, or telling, and that's what this is, telling. We expect the dative case, and that's what we have. That, okay, that they took, took, this is your direct object, kurion, and here's that genitive singular, masculine or feminine, depending on who's talking. Okay. They took my Lord, that genitive directly after the noun, and I do not know, first person singular, present active indicative. I do not know where, and they tell you what this means. Ephekan, third person plural, aorist active indicative. They laid him. So, she is saying, or he is saying to them that they took my Lord, and I do not know where they laid him. So let's look at number 6. Kai apelthen kai erxoto kerusen, ente decapole, hosa epoiesen auto ho Jesus. So right off the bat, we see there's two things that happen, kai and kai. He did this and that. And this is helpfully, the infinitive, the complementary infinitive that completes it, not the one that says, hey, you look great today. The complementary and completing one, and decapole in decapolis. And how much, or we have another clause here. Don't get to translating. Do as I say, not as I do. Epoiesen auto. There's your dative, and Jesus nominative singular masculine. All right. So he, apelthein, he went and he began to preach in Decapolis. How much or how many things Jesus, epoiesen, did. There's your aorist, third person singular aorist, active indicative, did for him. And notice that the dative, it's the, usually we equate the dative with, the English indirect object, giving somebody something to, giving, showing, or telling. I give something to you, I show something to you, I tell something to you. In this case, it's more of a dative of reference or dative of advantage, but there's still that indirect objectness quality to it. So even though he's not technically giving something to him, there's a benefit for him. And that's the reason for the dative, the auto here. And he went and he began to preach in Decapolis the things that Jesus did for him. Number 7. Lege autois erkeste kai obseste elfanun kai eran pu mene kai parauto emeran ten hemeran ekenin. So, a lot going on in this sentence. Starts off with our verb here. And, there's two words here before we have this helpful break. And this is your dative plural masculine. And let's just go ahead and say it's the, on the one hand, I don't want to jump into translating right away. But on the other hand, we have he is saying, and we have a dative, he's saying to them. Okay, so at some point, we don't even have to translate, you know what I mean? You're becoming so proficient at your Greek that you recognize right away, oh, he's saying to them. Erkeste, here's your imperative. We don't see a lot of imperatives. Do this. And obseste, here's another imperative, a command. And notice it's the imperative. Can't talk and write at the same time. Command, do this. And then another break. This one's a whole break, a period. Elphein un kai Adon. So they did those two things. They did this one and this one. And then we have another break here. And it tells you where. So they did this and that where mene, kai paratu, emenan. So, and I think that's it that we're going to analyze. We'll take this. It's the accusative case. We'll call it the direct object. So we have two verbs here, and then verb 3 and 4 are here, and they're separated by that par. Great. So the first part, he is saying to them, the imperative erkeste, come and see. Okay, come and see. Great. Elthane, they went. This is your aorist, third person plural. Aorist active indicative. They came and they saw where he remains, mene, or staying. Staying, I think, is probably a little better here. He remains, he's staying, he is, he resides, remains, and remained. He remains and remained. My mistake. I'll edit that out. Where he remains and. The kai is a hard break sometimes. And so in this case, I got confused because I wanted some parallelism and I didn't account for that. So had I translated it, I analyzed it, parsed it. This is third person singular, present active indicative. But this is third person plural. And they remained that day. And alongside him, they remained that day. So, a little hitch in my translation. And I may leave that in so you can see. Oh my goodness, look what happens when you don't parse these out and look at it more closely. You get to translate it, which I've said all along, when you get to translate what you think it should be and not follow either the grammar or the organization of the words. So it wasn't a mistake, it was a learning opportunity. So he is saying to them, come and see. And they came and they saw where he is remaining, and alongside him they remained that whole day. Canaan modifies that. Number 8. Exelthen kai apelthen eis eremon topon kake pros euketo kai heuron auton kai legusin auto hoti pantes zetusin se. A lot going on in this one too. So what did they do? They did this and they did this. Ice eremon topon kake, and there pros euketo. So there's the end of that first sentence. They did this, they did that, and there they did another thing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And heuron, accusative, kai legusin, auto. Oh, I know this is reading. This is our indirect object. And hoti, a phrase introduced by hoti. So, let's begin the translation. Oh, and this is the fourth verb here. So, exelthane pelthane. He left and he went into a lonely place, topos place, and there pros euketo, he prayed. And finding him, or they found him, and they said to him that all are seeking you. Now, this is more the present. And as an aside, I think this is from an earlier version because I've seen they've changed the sentence out. So because it changes tense, and finding him, they find him, and they say to him that all are seeking you. So there's an awkward change of tense if it doesn't make sense to you. And in point of fact, I believe this has been edited out. So I'm using that as a cop-out. So if you're thrown by that, it's like, wait a minute, we start out with the imperfect here. He went and came to a place, and he prayed, and they find, we suddenly change to the present. Yeah, in this sentence. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9. Kai sunagontai hoi apostoloi proston Jesun kai apengelan auto panta hosa epoesan kai hosa e didasking. We have 2 sentences here in a sense. Sunagontai, who did that? Ho apostoloi proston Jesun kai, and they did this. They did your indirect object here. Indirect object. We'll call it indirect object. Panta. There's your accusative case. Hosa epoesan kai. And so here's another verb. Now this hosa, notice the parallelism. Here we go. We have a hosa here, and it agrees with the panta. So it calls back. It's the antecedent. The word that goes before that the hosa is referred to is panta. All the things which, epoesan kai edidaxein. And the apostles, what did they do? They gathered. And we get synagogue from that word, coming together. They gathered towards Jesus, and they messaged. This is the word for messenger. They reported to him all the things, okay, that they did, and all the things. The panta is not repeated. They said all the things which they did and which they taught. Epoesin. Notice that these are the aorist. This one has the S that goes right in there, and this one is of the sort that the S is combined, with the root of that word to give you this the new letter here, a didaxon. So don't be confused. Like, wait, I don't see the S. That's okay. It melds, it merges in this word right here. Number 10. Let's look at this sentence. Ploi erusin moi en ekenai te hemera. Kurie, o to so onamati eprofeteusamen. There's the word. Kai tosoi onamati daimonia exebalominen. Kai toso onamati dunames polas epoiesamen. Kai tote homologeso autois hotu udepote egnon humas. A lot going on, a lot of back and forth. Let's break this up. Poiloi is the subject. Edusen, moi, there's your indirect object. Enekenite hemera, and then we have this break. Got it. There's the first part, and we'll handle that when we get to it. Kurie, this is your addressing, and I think this just means Lord, Lord. Lord. To, so, onamati, so, something happened. There's our verb. And, here it is again. To, onamati, that happened. Great. Okay. Kai, here it is again. Look at that. To, so, onamati, we did this. Okay, this is helpful. We're looking at parallelism. I don't know what's happening, but we have an A, a B, a C, and here are the verbs. These are the things we did. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just using, when I say we did, because I'm recognizing the end of the word. Again, I don't want to jump into translating yet, but now that we're getting to be, proficient in our Greek, oh yeah, we did this, we did that, we did the other thing. And notice this one has the direct object, this one has the direct object, many direct objects, in fact, that's fine. Great. And, all right, here we have another break, great. And I will say, thank you. Here's your saying, verbs of saying, giving, showing, or telling. We expect the indirect object. That's right there. And this is what he says to them. Don't know. There's not a direct object. That's fine. We don't need to know that right now. We're just, great. There's that group, that sentence right there. We can translate. That's not going to stop us from translating the rest of the sentence. So, many will say to me. Great. Many will say to me. On that day, en ekena tehemera, on that day. Many will say to me on that day. This part goes with here. I forgot my own break here. Many will say to me on that day. Lord, Lord, we did not what? In your name. Okay. What did we not do? We didn't prophesize. This is your aorist, first person plural, aorist, active indicative. We did not do that. This word is also an aorist. On that day, in your name, we did not cast out demons. And C, in your name, we did not do many miracles. So those are the three things they did not do. And thereupon, I will say to them, I never knew you. This is just your verb for knowing, that I never knew you. So, again, once you start breaking it up, it really, really helps you. And then you can see that parallelism. And we can write down 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. And we're not overwhelmed. Because when we first see that sentence, oh my gosh, it's so long. Don't be stressed over it. Just take the words as they come. Take the phrases as they come. And that'll be a big help.